When a receiver runs the third best 40-yard dash of all time, you tend to notice. Back during the 2013 NFL Combine, Marquise Goodwin ran a sub-4.3 40. This speed was one of the many reasons why Buffalo drafted him in the third round. During his time with the Bills, he unfortunately kept getting injured, and he was not re-signed during the 2017 offseason. He ended up signing a short 2-year deal with San Francisco, and ever since Jimmy Garoppolo made his first official start, Goodwin has turned into a relevant player. With that terrific speed in his history, I honestly expected him to work on a limited route tree. I expected mostly goes, fades, and other deep routes in order to vertically stretch the defense. While he does run those routes, he's also used much more in this offense. The combination of designed end rounds and variety of short and medium routes definitely has turned him to a focal point in this offense. What really impresses me, beyond his speed of course, is how he explodes out of his breaks. He also has incredible hip flexibility in order to transition smoothly. He rarely runs his routes with extra steps, and he does a great job of getting open versus off-man and zone coverage defenses. Versus the Texans, Goodwin ran a cross-facing route. He took an outside release from the slot and forced Jonathan Joseph into a trail technique. With his incredible speed and smooth hip transition, Goodwin doesn't allow Joseph to bump him on his route. He then uses his inside hand to shed the defender before breaking inside for the catch. Later in the same game, Goodwin ran a pivot route from a bunch formation on the left side of the field. Kevin Johnson is the responsible defender, and he sits at 9 yards past the line of scrimmage. Goodwin breaks hard to the sideline on an out route and then drops his hips and turns and then works his way back to the center of the field. This forced Johnson to drive on his break and give Goodwin an inside throwing lane. Goodwin then catches the ball and gains an extra 2 yards after the catch. How Goodwin drops his hips and turns on a dime is easily one of his best traits. This is especially true on comeback routes on the sideline. After the snap, Adoree Jackson attempted to jam him on the line of scrimmage. He breaks the contact using his inside hand, and then he works his way down the sideline. His vertical speed forces Jackson to sprint after him. Goodwin knows that if he turns and drops his hips, he can get Jackson to sprint right by him. This is exactly what happened, and while Garoppolo didn't throw him the ball, Goodwin forced Jackson to the ground and clearly won this route. For a small receiver, he can definitely get bumped on the line of scrimmage. Standing at 5'9" and only 180 pounds, he doesn't have the size and strength to consistently break free from this coverage. Like I showed in the previous play, he's much better when he can get an outside speed release, especially when he can shed a punch initially. My concern is that against very aggressive players like Jalen Ramsey or Richard Sherman, he won't be able to consistently break free. Now, I'm not going to say that he can't be a physical player, but based on his other traits, I would much rather see him get a free release. If San Francisco sent him in motion or lined him up in stacks or trips formations like he did versus the Texans, I think he has an advantage. Doing this would allow him the off coverage and zone looks where he can find the ball in space. Moving on, as a deep receiver, him and Garoppolo are not fully in sync yet. On this deep post, he's getting a one-on-one with the free safety. His route is pretty basic though, where he doesn't do anything extra beyond using his burst to try to get open. In my opinion, this is the reason that allows Andre Howell to play this route so well. Regardless, the pass is so poorly placed that he has no chance of getting it anyways. Maybe Garoppolo thought Goodwin would carry this more vertically, while Goodwin thought the opposite. Either way, the pass falls incomplete, and there were multiple examples of this in their last 3 games. Here's another play where this time Goodwin runs an awesome stop and go route. Look how deep he drops his hips and how emphatic his fake is. He baits the cornerback and forces him into a panic trail coverage. Unfortunately, Goodwin can't adjust to the placement of the ball, and another deep opportunity falls to the ground. Now, while Garoppolo has actually played pretty well, he has definitely thrown some questionable passes. On this dig route, Garoppolo throws his ball completely flat-footed, and it looks like it's going to be intercepted. However, Goodwin does a fantastic job of bending his route back in order to catch this pass. Goodwin alone prevented the Texans from not only getting the turnover, but he also gained some yards after the catch. From my film study, it's actually gotten comical to see how much he trusts Goodwin. Similar to the last play, Garoppolo threw an ugly sidearm pass up for grabs. He's under pressure, which doesn't allow him to put any real force on the ball. Somehow though, Goodwin still manages to come up with the catch. He was at the 35-yard line and backtracked a full 5 yards to take the ball away. I am truly baffled by this throw. It's 2nd and 9, and there is no reason to toss it up like this, but this pair makes it work. Before I end this video, My major issues with Goodwin as a receiver are his drops and his injuries. We talked about his injury history before, but to elaborate, he still hasn't played a full season in the NFL. He's missed a combined 25 games since he was drafted. More recently, I've noticed that he tends to go out of bounds and get to the ground after a reception, and my assumption is that he's doing this in order to play more games. I absolutely love when receivers run angry after the catch, but based on his history, I have zero issue with him doing this. He needs to protect himself, but that definitely cuts into his ceiling. Outside of his injuries, he has a history of drop passes. On just 57 catchable balls, he has 6 drops this season. A drop rate of roughly 10% is good for bottom 5 in the NFL. This is something he clearly needs to work on. Beyond this, and after charting every snap over his last few games, I can honestly say that my overall impression is positive. If he can stay healthy, I think his connection with Jimmy Garoppolo will be a fun one to watch in the future. Well, thank you so much for watching. Our good friends at BetDSI.com want to offer a free $25 wager to any viewer of this channel. If you use promotion code BREAK25, you can get a free bet in your next game. If you are a casual gambler or simply want to make these games more fun, this can be your chance to do this. Again, this bet is completely risk-free as long as you use promotion code BREAK25 when you sign up. I think Atlanta at plus 5.5 is a good bet this weekend. As this is a completely risk-free bet, I have no problem taking these odds. Now, if you enjoy this breakdown, go ahead and click the link to my Patreon account. Any amount you donate is greatly appreciated. I mentioned this in my previous videos, but if you want me to do a topic of your choosing, go ahead and donate on that page. Thanks again, and as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Samuel R. Gold.